So, Miss Jan Strickland, we're here today. And Jan, so I'm on social media a good bit, but I'm a little bit more of that lurker than anything.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds bad. I'm in real estate. I'm saying I'm lurking on social media, but I get a lot of inspiration from it. And I've been following your career for quite some time. And what got me engaged with you, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here because the interior decorating aspect of a home, the aesthetics of an interior of a home, has such an impact when it comes to selling a home and just giving that home that look and feel that people enjoy. But it was the St. Jude's work that you've done that kind of turned me on to you, and then I've been following you ever since. And finally said, well, why lurk? Let's get her on here. Let's talk about it a little bit. So, Jan, tell me a little bit about yourself. I think you went to, you graduated from Alabama?
Yeah, I graduated from the University of Alabama in interior design, and I really enjoyed getting a degree in interior design. It is more than just the styling and the decorating because I worked with floor plans and, different things and learning how to move walls. And so to have that background is just really important for what I do every day. And I loved having that experience.
So let's talk about the kind of what got you to that stage of your life. I asked you to send us some information about you. We did a little bit of research, and it sounds like this started like really early on in childhood for you, that you just kind of had a passion for this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is very unique, I guess you would say, but my dad growing up, he wanted my brother and I to have a different experience than I'm from Rayville.
Okay.
So he didn't want us to just see the world as which I love Rayville.
Sure.
I'm on a Richland revitalization committee for Rayville. I love the town of Rayville, but Dad wanted us to have a very broad point of view of the world around us.
Right.
So because he grew up in Archibald and he really didn't have that, so he wanted to give that to us. So every summer from kindergarten to 5th grade, he would rent a house on the English countryside.
Oh, wow.
For us to live in, and so as a child, I would go, every summer I would be in England. Not
for how long?
For about 3 months.
Oh,
kindergarten
wow.
through 5th grade, he would do it. And I'm so glad that he did that. And so then we would go into, London or different places and just view different castles. And so I think at a young age, and then I'd be back here for the school year, and then 2 weeks out of the school year, he would take us to Italy or Rome, and he did that while we were in elementary school. And I think he felt he was able to. My mom would always bring our schoolwork and things like that on the trips, and so being exposed to Italy and Rome, all of Greece, all of these different places as a young child just really opened up my mind. And I would be amazed by the castles, the museum, the artwork, the things like that. And so just naturally, I would always be drawn to that. And then I remember just going into people's houses as a kid and just being mesmerized by all the details and all of the things. And so that kind of brought me to when I was a teenager. My parents really wanted to do this movie room addition in our house, and Mom just let me kind of take the lead on it. And I was 15 years old, and it was fun because I got to pick out all the paint colors and the tile and the hardware for the cabinets and things like that. And so she really let me be free with that. So when it was time to choose a college degree, interior design was just an easy yes.
From a curriculum standpoint, when you get into college to take a degree like this, you'd mentioned that it's more than just decorating.
Yes.
So talk to us about some of the elements that you learned.
Yeah, so it really trained my mind to view spaces kind of from a 3-dimensional standpoint and from a floor plan standpoint. So when I look at a floor plan, I'm able to visualize, what the space is going to look like in a 3-dimensional space, where I think if I didn't have that particular training, my mind wouldn't necessarily just instantly see it that way. It almost comes natural to me to just view a floor plan and see what it's going to look like in a three-dimensional space.
One of the hardest things in residential real estate that we deal with is getting people to understand how big a space truly is.
Yes.
And I have to lead them down a path a lot of times, especially if you're selling a home that's vacant. If it's in an area where there's other homes that are being done, I can say, well, look, you see that slab over there that they just poured? How big do you think that house is? Well, it's going to be definitely smaller than this house. What if I told you that house is actually bigger than this house when it's built? People just have a problem spatially figuring things out.
Yes.
So
in that
that.
degree, we worked on floor plans all the time, and we were drawing perspective drawings, whether that was hand drawing or on the computer, and so constantly working from a floor plan to a real life situation just really changed my mind.
Yeah, it's
how to do it.
I would say for many people that's a learned experience. It's just doesn't come natural. I can't tell you how many times I've been in master bedrooms and have to stretch my arms out, say this is the size of a king size bed. It'll fit here.
Yes.
So okay, so from the floor plan, understand how things lay out. What other elements would they teach you? Or did you learn during that degree?
So we learned a lot of like color and different like scale things, patterns. You want to be careful when you mix certain patterns in a space or certain colors because you don't want it to be overwhelming, and things like that were taught that really helped me every day to know like you don't want to put two big patterns together.
Sure.
To balance, you want to balance it out.
So during your time at school, I think you indicated to us that you had some jobs, whether it be in some fabric type stores to understand some of that.
Yeah.
So what type of experience did you have before you graduated and decided to open this business?
So while I was in college, I had an internship at the beach at Malou. Well, it was called Malou Furniture and Design. It's still there, but it was so much fun because it was one summer in college and I got to go to all of these beach condos and work on the design for it was either the owners that were there all the time or they were renting out the condos. So that was and this was a high-end furniture store at the beach. So that was neat. And then also I worked at a interior shop that was in downtown Tuscaloosa, and we actually did some of the fraternity houses that were being built at Alabama, and they're still, there today with some of the selections that I was able to choose. So that was a fun thing. But then when I graduated, I did not do this full time. Mm-hmm. So I've had my business since right around the time that I graduated from college. But I worked at other interior shops, and then I would do this after work. Right. Like I would, have my clients, and my husband was in law school at the time, so I would just say, okay, I'm going to be home a little late. Like I'm going to meet with this client after work because, and I think a lot of people when they're starting out, that's how they start out.
Sure.
Like you don't jump in and have your career full fledged.
Yeah, it's really tough. Yeah. It's the exception to the rule. I agree with that.
So, but while I was doing it, I was always doing things in interior design. So, like, I had a job, like you said, at a fabric store that we picked out drapes and fabrics for upholstery items and things. So working with all of those different fabrics, I used to carry big fabric rolls down, it wasn't glamorous, like downstairs to a basement and rolled them out on a, board, and I was measuring the fabric, doing things like that. And then working at a furniture and accessory store that I used to work in the back room where I would get all of the UPS, FedEx boxes and opening them up and tagging them and labeling them and things like that. And then after work, I would meet with people and help out with paint colors and help out with things like that. But I look back at all of those experiences, and I remember thinking, that was really from the ground up. But if I didn't have those experiences, I couldn't do the things I was doing today.
So the textbooks only take you so far.
Oh yeah, for sure. You have to have the one. You have to get, to where you're opening up boxes and looking through. Because that's so much of this industry and this bit. What
What's
When you
gonna
get
work
an
together? Yeah.
when you get an accessory box in, if something comes in damaged, what do you do? You know,
Right.
I mean, there's just a lot of different things that you have to have experience
So
in.
what was that deciding factor that says, you know what, I'm going all in on this, and that I'm going to put myself out there, that I'm all in?
Really, I went all in where did not, was not working for anybody else when we moved back here from Alabama. So in Alabama, I was working for other people, and then I had my design business on the side and all of that. But when we moved back here, and my husband joined my dad's law practice,
Okay.
and we had a 6-week-old baby, I was like, I'm doing this 100%. Like, this is what I'm doing. And so, and it's a scary thing to do because you don't have any like regular income coming in, but you've got the experience, and you've got to do it full time
Yeah.
to service
Sure.
the clients full time. I mean, you can't.
And that's fear of failure. I
It
don't
is, oh,
want to
it's a
put my
lot. Oh, it's a lot. It's a
don't want to put
lot.
myself out there. I don't want to fail. I don't want anybody laughing at me or saying, I told you so.
Yeah, yeah.
But would you say that your love and your passion for what you do, you've never told me that, but I mean, I can see it in the work.
Yeah.
The love and the passion for what you do you feel like that motivated you
Oh,
in a
for
way that said,
sure.
I know I'm not going to fail because I can't. I believe.
For
I
sure,
love it.
for
I want
sure.
to make it happen.
Well, I mean, and it still does every day. Like, that's still my drive because it's not easy and glamorous and what you see on TV, and that's when a lot of clients come to me, they think it's going to be the HGTV experience, and it's not. And I have to tell everybody, I'm like, you got to trust the process, because the process isn't always pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, when
So-
you're renovating a home and you're ripping out walls, and on HGTV they just show it one clip of it, like the wall, but that's not the reality of it. And so it's not all what you see on TV.
So I'm gonna step out on a limb here. I feel safe in doing this,
Yeah.
but I have to assume that interior decorator / counselor.
Oh, yes.
So how much
yes.
emotion comes into play when you are? I know that emotion is going to be involved in anything. Small projects, less big projects. A lot of emotion and.
Oh, yeah.
Talking people off a
yeah.
ledge that trust the process is going to work. So how involved are you with that in your customer's relationship and being able to establish that rapport to where they're going to not only trust your advice, but be willing to go through that complete process without pulling their hair out?
Yeah. Well, I work with so many different types of clients and so many different types of people, which I know you do too in your line of work. And so you kind of learn over time how to work with these different personalities and how to work with these different people. I have some clients that come to me and they've been down the renovation road before. They know, or they've built a house before and they know all that it entails.
Right.
And they're very educated on it, and they come to me, and I mean, and I hate to say those are my favorite clients, but they're a lot smoother because they've experienced it. They've been down that road. They're not frazzled when things go unplanned in the renovation, which they will. We all know, like in a remodel job or in a or even in a new construction, things are going to go unplanned. I don't get distraught by it because I've been doing it for 12 years. Right. I know the outcome's going to be wonderful, and these little things happen as part of the process. It's going to be okay. And I've got some clients that they've been there, done that. It doesn't faze them when things go wrong. And then I've got other ones that it does. They don't want things to be out of order, in the process or in the, and that's a little bit, that's whenever my counselor side comes in, because I'm like, it's okay. Like, and I hate having to say it, but I am like, you just got to trust the process. You got to try, like, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be smooth sailing.
We're going to have some bumps in the road.
But I'm like, the result is going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to be what you're hoping for, what you're looking for, but the process isn't going to be the prettiest. You know, it's not going to be. HGTV doesn't show. I mean, they try to make a show out of the ugliness of it. But when you're living in, it's different than watching it on a television show.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, it's someone's sanctuary. I mean, it's just kind of where they feel the safest, the most vulnerable.
And there's a lot of money involved too.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
When you're doing a big renovation project, you don't want things to happen. I mean, it's a scary leap to take, you know, but you have to know it's going to be worth it.
And then the past couple of years when we've had supply chain issues, I'm sure that just amped it up that much more.
Yeah, because you don't know when things are really, I mean, as you probably know, things are getting so much better and they're getting back to, I mean, it's not all the way back to where it was, but that you can get things a lot quicker now than what you, and but during COVID, it was crazy.
You just, any plan that you had to throw it out the window and say, hey, look, this is what it looks like today. We'll talk tomorrow and figure out tomorrow when tomorrow gets here. But today.
But I'm so fortunate during that time period. I never slowed down. I had amazing clients that were understandable. You know, they knew what we were, what everybody was dealing with, and they didn't get all unraveled about it. And
so how did you get involved at first with St. Jude's? Because that's kind of how I got to know your business a little bit.
So that is my number one passion. That is, it's 100% donation of my time. And it's harder now than it used to be because and then it's easier in some senses of the way too, because now I'm so experienced at it, you know, that it kind of comes second nature to me. But in the beginning, I wasn't as busy as I am now. But now I'm more, you know, comfortable with quick decision making and things like that than I used to be. But I got involved because I was designing. This was right before we moved back from Alabama. I was designing my parents' home that I live in the house I grew up in.
Okay.
And I was designing their house, which is next door to us in Rayville, on this vacant lot that my dad bought. And I grew up, you know, playing on that lot. But anyway, and so we had our lifelong family friend, Brian Allen, the Braco Construction. He was building the house, and I was making all the selections from Alabama, and it was a fun process, but it was kind of crazy because I never really got to be on site. My husband was in law school. It was just a busy time in our life. So when I moved back, Brian was looking for somebody to take over being the designer at the St. G Dream Home, and just out of the blue, I was pregnant with our daughter, our second child. Brian messaged me and he said, would you want to be the lead designer of the St. Jude? This was going to be the 2018 Dream Home. And I was like, wow, like, yes, that is what I do want to do. Like, I was pregnant too. So I was kind of hesitant because I knew what all it involved. And I said, Mr. Brian, I do want to do this, but I am pregnant, like I'm having the baby right around the time that everything, like he was giving me dates that everything was going to be needed to be selected. And I was like, I just don't know. And he said, no, you can do it. So I did say yes, but a huge reason why I wanted to do it and that I did say yes was because my childhood best friend passed away from cancer. And she is always at the forefront of my mind. Her name was Tiffany Greer. And
how old was she?
She was, I want to say 17 when she passed away. She had a hard fight with leukemia. And just knowing her experience, you know, at St. Jude and her, I mean, I always put her with that. and so I always honor her in every house. I have a little, picture that I put on there. But not only her too, but one of my brother's childhood friends passed away from cancer.
Wow.
And then another girl in our class, Amber Tambura, she did too. So it was very personal to me. Um, and then throughout, this is going to be my seventh St. Jude Dream Home to do, and so we've already
Number
started on it.
7.
Yeah, number 7. We've already started on all the selections. I've pretty much got all of the tiling, the flooring, I've got the appliances, the light fixtures. Starting to look at paint colors, things like that, set out for it.
Right.
And so that's exciting. It's a fun process. It is.
So St. Jude, I know, has done so much for many, many, many families in our own community.
Yes.
But when they started doing the dream homes here, and I first heard about it, and I'm just like, seriously, is that going to raise any money? Because, I mean, I know what it costs to build a house and all that stuff, but I just did not know the magnitude of people that would come out and donate and how people would get behind purchasing those tickets. And I don't even know the amount of money they've raised over with these homes.
So last year's home, I want to say it was 800,000, maybe 800. And I think this year's going to be 850,000 because if we sell all, 8,500 tickets. But yes,
That's
you're right. You're right
amazing.
on that. Like the community is just so, but you really see the heart of North Louisiana when you're looking at this project. I mean, people are so willing to donate towards this. And it really shows the good in North Louisiana. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just because all of these people are so busy. Every company that donates locally has other things that they can do. And they're not getting paid 1 cent.
Right.
And really, like Brian Allen and I always talk about, not the recognition that they deserve. We try to give everybody recognition, but it's hard to give all of those people the right amount of recognition for what they do for this house. I mean, it's such a bit. I mean, they pull off of their paid jobs to go over there and work on it.
Right.
But when you look at, like you said, when you look at the clients, I mean, at the patients and their families and who it's benefiting, it's just
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
And to hear the
It is
stories,
unbelievable.
the stories of survival that's happening coming from
Yes.
St. Jude's because of the
Yes.
money that's being reinvested back into research. And to hear those families come back and tell the story that
Yes.
I don't feel like I'm a burden to anybody or I'm going to be burdened by them. They just want to help. Nobody's asking for my credit card to swipe for me to be able to get in to see a doctor. They're genuinely there to help
Yes.
and make a difference in this child's
Yeah, they
life.
make sure that no family receives a bill. I have had the amazing opportunity to go to the St. Jude Dream Home Summits. I've been to 2 of them over the past, which this is coming up on my 7th year of being involved in this, but I've been to 2 of them, and it is amazing to be able to tour the grounds of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, to be able to hear stories from parents, that get up there and they talk about how St. Jude made this really horrific, process that they're about to go through just better by taking away those burdens. But not only that, the facilities are just
First class.
oh yes, unbelievable. And we, like, last time I went, not this past year but the year before, and just seeing like the research centers, they're top of the line. They share their research with with other cancer places around the world. It's just, and Danny Thomas, who was the founder of St. Jude, like, his story is just amazing because he wanted to give his money to have a hospital that was, he calls it, like, is kind of the beacon of hope
Sure.
for these for the hopeless, for the hopeless, the helpless, the
Right.
people who didn't have anything. And it's just it's an amazing place.
Yeah, just knowing that healthcare
And
is not in the best shape here in the United
yes,
States, where
yes.
things are just so expensive, especially
Mm-hmm.
being an independent contractor. I'm sure you fall in the same category that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
healthcare is really expensive and it's
Yeah.
not very
Yeah.
affordable for many people. And if you do fall in that threshold to where you have to have government assistance to make something happen, the
Mm-hmm.
healthcare quality that you get may not be of equal to someone who has
Mm-hmm.
great insurance. But the game changers when St. Jude's, if you have something that you need to go, I don't care from the least of these to the richest of these,
Exactly.
they are there
Yeah,
to
they treat everyone
truly,
the same.
yeah,
And yeah, it's just it's such a wonderful project.
right,
And like you said, I mean, all these people in our community that donate towards it and sponsor it, they're doing it because their heart's in the right
yeah,
place. And your heart has to be in the right place to do this, because it's not easy.
sure,
I'll get a phone, I'll be at a, high end client job, and I get a phone call that I've got to do something over at the St. Jude house. But it's never been a downer
right,
or I hate I'm having to leave this paid job and do this. It's because I know what I'm doing it for. And when you look at all the sponsors in town, they're all doing it for the right. I mean, there's several, like, I think Acme and Russell Moore, they've been doing it for like 20 years, ever since the homes have been here.
and that says
And
something for people like that invested with it, because you mentioned it, they don't get the recognition
oh,
that they
yeah,
deserve.
no,
So we
no.
understand now that why they're doing it. They're doing it
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm,
they feel compelled to do it, that they
mm-hmm.
need to help, they need to be able to give back to the community. But also at the same time, those type of people that handle their business that way will be paid dividends down the road at some
Exactly,
point.
exactly. And I always try, especially like as I've gotten more clients over the years and I've gotten busier, I always try to use those local sponsors
Sure.
for my business.
I mean, you know where
Because
their heart
I know
is, you
know where
know.
their heart is. I've worked with them on the home, and I always encourage, and I tell my clients that I'm like, they are St. Jude sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, but even like the national products, which
Mm-hmm.
are Kitchler Lighting and Brizo Faucet, things like that. I like to steer towards using them because they donate. I think there's 50 or so dream homes nationwide, and they donate to every
Wow.
home in the nation. So, of course, when I'm looking to source for a client, I'm going to look at those products
Right.
first, because that's
Sure.
who I want to.
Makes
That's who
total
I. Yeah,
sense.
That's who I want to back up.
So
So.
at some point in your career, you're like, not like I don't have enough going on. I got a family, I got a new business, I'm volunteering time. Now I want to do a book. So tell me how that came to be.
So that really, it started during COVID, of course, just like some crazy, I guess, ideas do.
Sure.
And so I have been using, I don't know if you know Kelly Moore.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
She
Mm-hmm.
photographs for Body Life
Yeah.
magazine. And so she's
Talented
been,
artist
yes,
too.
yes, she has been photographing my work for several years now. And so probably, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years of her photographing all of my work. And I look on her website, she's got all these galleries, and it's all these beautiful photos of my interiors. And I mean, it kind of crossed my mind, but I was like, whenever crazy ideas, no, I'm not gonna do that. It was in my mind, but then my husband and I were walking in a store. I think we were actually like in Ruston, walking in one of the stores, and we saw these coffee table books, interiors coffee table books. My husband said, "You could have that. You could do that." And I was like, "That's so funny that you said that, because it's like been in the back of my head, but I didn't do anything." And then literally the next day, I talked to my dad about it, and his friend, who had done a book, he got me in touch with his publisher, and it just kind of
Started
all
rolling together.
started, yeah, going. And it's a funny thing because people will always say, "Are you gonna do another one?" And I already have, like Kelly and I were laughing. She's gonna do a big photo shoot for me tomorrow too. Like I'm
Oh,
already
great.
getting way more that is content. I don't know if I did one, it would be 4 or 5 years from now. I got to take a little break because doing a book is a big process, and it takes up a lot of time.
I can imagine.
And it was fun and exciting, and I'm so glad that I had that experience. But I don't know. I don't know.
We just need a
I don't
little
know.
time to
Yeah, I don't
pass
know.
to kind
Yeah,
of.
I'm not there. I'm not there where I would do another one yet. But it's great because it's a good portfolio too of my work.
Sure.
And it's not all of my work. Like I said, whenever the book was actually being printed, I had an entire, I think, or maybe I had like 2 full houses that Kelly had like just given me photos for that didn't make the book. So it was kind of like, oh, and they were some of my favorite work.
Right.
So it's not in the book, but I'm so glad that I did it. And I jumped with it. It was a risk. It was a lot of money to do it and a lot of time, a lot of money to do it. But I'm really glad that I did it because it's just fun. It's fun to have
Looking
that
back on
book.
your career when you got started, and kind of preference this for people who have similar interests in you that may be thinking about going down this path that
Yeah.
you've gone. What are some mistakes that you made early on that you could share that I ask you to rip open old wounds, but that you could share maybe to help inspire somebody or learn from my type of mistakes? Are you willing to share a few of those
Yeah,
things you wish you would have done different getting started?
I that's a tough question. Because I've really just kind of learned as I go. Like there's not one specific, mess up or one thing that
Do you
I'd
wish you would have
say.
started sooner?
No, I think I started soon enough. And I'm glad that I got the experience that I got. Um, I I don't know. I think
This podcast is possible because of your support of our real estate business. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I'm confident we have the tools and the processes to help you reach your real estate goal. For more information or to reach out to us, check out the podcast description for our contact info.
I'm trying to think of like the mistake that I would
And it doesn't
say.
necessarily have to be an actual tangible mistake that maybe it's you kind of started down one path and you're like, you know what, I might need to back off of this a little bit. Maybe I don't
Yeah,
need to
yeah, I
take
think
every person that comes
and I
along.
think that has been that's what's taken me so long to get to this point is that now I know my line of work.
Okay,
Where back then I might have taken on everything.
sure.
Okay, so yeah, that helped answer my question. So like in the beginning, for instance, I was so desperate for jobs, which I think everybody is, and I didn't have my niche yet.
Right.
So I would take on anything and everything
It's
that would
tough.
come my way.
It's tough to be all things to all people all the time,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes, yes, it is. And learning to say no has been something that I've had to learn to do.
Yeah, I mean, saying
I've
no
had
to
to, and
people.
I hate it. I mean, even like last week, somebody called me, and it was a job that, like, I mean, if it would have been a year ago, even, or maybe even 6 months ago, would have loved to have had. But now I'm at a point where I'm having to say no to those types of jobs, in order to get my other jobs filled, that I've already got lined up that I can give time
Right.
to. Um, but yeah, like in the beginning, I used to decorate for weddings or try to put together all of these events and things. And that was fun and it was exciting because it was a different side of my creative
Right.
self, but it was taking up too much of my energy, where I couldn't give all of my energy to the right
Yeah.
places. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Absolutely, it does.
So I couldn't, I was scrambling for things. And so now I'm not ashamed. When somebody calls me wanting to do that, I think it was like a week or two ago, somebody called me and they wanted me to do one of those things for them.
Sure.
I was very blunt and very honest. And I said, I can't because it takes up too much of my energy and time. And I'm doing these other, I'm just doing homes now. Like I'm
Right.
just doing renovations. I'm
people-
doing I'm doing new construction, doing renovations or decorating what you have. I can't add on to that.
You know, I've had people disagree with this statement, but I found for me, for it to be true, you know, in real estate, there's like, I mean, all different aspects: commercial, residential, investment, luxury, new construction. I've learned through my career that you can be good at many things or you can be great at your thing. Now, it doesn't mean you can't be a great husband, a great mother, and a great business person. But in that one thing that you're doing, you can only be great at one.
Yep.
If you spread yourself too thin,
Yeah, it doesn't.
you might be good at all that stuff, but it's a lot to be
And
great.
that's kind of an ever learning process. But when I first started, that was the hardest because I really stretched myself thin. I did too many, I scheduled too many things. I did too many things. And it got to the point where, yeah, like you said, I wasn't being great.
Yeah.
I was getting everything done and I was being good, but I wasn't able to really hone in on something to make it great. And so now I'm really learning to put my foot down and say no and just focus in on what I'm really passionate about and what's keeping me pretty busy.
So when you take on a new customer, and I'm sure it's probably going to be different for each scenario, but when you take on that customer that just does not have a style, they just don't know. They don't know what they don't know until they know, but they know they want something different. And you go into their home and it's a lot of eclectic things. And it's just like, probably for someone like you, it's like, oh, chaos. Even though it may look okay, it's not a style. And they have no idea where it is. How do you lead someone like that down a path to help them figure out what their style is?
So that's really hard and complicated.
But does it happen often?
Oh, yes. Today, actually, it happened this morning. I was going down that path. All I really know to do is to start sending inspiration photos, to start, saying, you got to tell me what you like about this photo, what you don't like. Sometimes it's finding what you don't like to find what you like. And that's a process. Like
it's like you have to lead them down this path.
I know. And I just start with pictures really. Like, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you not like that? And it's hard because I'm not a mind reader.
Right.
That's not where my training is, but I have to be sometimes. Sometimes I really, and that's a skill that I've had to learn over the past 12 years is how to get inside someone's style and head to try to find what we're going to do on this project.
Right.
Sometimes it really helps to, if their house, a lot of times if I walk through somebody's house, I can get a sense of their style and it really helps. Sometimes that is not the case. I mean, I wish it was. I wish it was that. Sometimes it's that easy. Sometimes I can walk through somebody's house, get a sense for their style, and I know where we're going, where we're headed. We can do it, and it's that simple. Other times, no, like that's not the case. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time of like taking them to local fabric stores, tile stores, furniture stores, walking through there with them and having them say, like this, like this, like that. Me taking mental notes, okay, that, because trying to piece together someone's style is a complicated thing.
Right. So how many times do you find yourself where they're giving you on their likes, you're taking them out and you're showing them tile, you're showing them fabrics, but they're they're picking two opposite styles that will not mesh together. How do you get that person down a path? Is it that you have to lay out, okay, I know you like this, but would you consider this with that?
Yes and no. So I'm a big mixer of styles. I think that's kind of what makes me unique.
Okay.
I'm not all traditional or I'm not all modern. I like whenever people want to mix the two,
Okay.
or mix a formal something with a casual. So I like that. Um, but like you said, like maybe if they pick a pattern that's just way out there and it's fighting with this tile over here, then I kind of am like, all right, I see you like this style, but we can't put that with that. Or maybe we can put this in a different room if you're stuck with it. Or maybe let's put that on a pillow. Let's not let it overwhelm the space. And I think that's where people really need my help, because they don't know, they know they like this and that, but they don't know how to make it all work
Right.
together.
So with that customer that is, in which I would say most customers probably, they can't really visualize things. They can't put it together. You can show them pictures in a magazine to help kind of narrow down a style. So we're not trying to recreate this. This
Yeah,
is just
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of something similar that we're going to be heading towards. But at what point, at some point, they're going to have to put their trust in you. How do you know when that trust is there so you can pull the trigger? Because I can tell you from my standpoint, from the real estate side, that until I know I've built that trust with them, it's going to be really, really hard to get them to follow me down a path.
Yes,
So we really work on that
yes.
up front. I'm sure that probably has to come into play with you
Oh,
as well.
that is
Because
probably
we're not
that is
talking small money here in
no
most cases
no
that people are
that
spending.
that is probably number one. I would say 80 to 90% of people who call me or hire me already trust me.
Okay, great.
And that is incredible, because I don't feel like I have to show them a certain thing, or have to
That
build their
reputation is already
Yes, it's already established, and so when they call me, they are already like, they can tell me what they like, and th're like, we trust you to put it together for us, to make it work for us,
and how
and
good does that
honestly,
feel?
that is a dream,
Right.
and that is amazing, because when I have my clients' trust, and I tell my clients this, the project is going to be successful. It just is. Like, it's gonna run smooth.
Probably cheaper.
It's gonna be yes, it's gonna be
We're not having to do a lot of back and
when you
forth.
trust that I know what I'm doing, with my education, my experience, my knowledge, my everything, things are gonna be good.
So how do you keep yourself in that mode of not getting in a rut of doing the same thing over and over, staying on what the trends are? I mean, just colors, for example.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the ever changing wheel every year
Yeah.
of what,
Oh, yeah. The
what's happening.
Pantone color of the year and all of those things.
How do you stay on top of that so you can stay fresh with the offerings of your customers? Because I would think as long as you've been in the business, you've probably done repeat customers to where it may be even in the same house to where they want to change the whole design of what they have on the same room you did for them years ago.
Yeah, yeah. It really comes down to, I've got to stay inspired. Okay, so I've got to keep my creative self, my inspiration flowing, or I can't.
Where does that come from,
my-
though?
Well, one, it comes from deep within. Obviously, I mean, like we talked about, it's been my passion my whole
Right.
life, and even whenever I didn't realize that it was, my dad said he remembers I was 4 years old, and he's an attorney, and he said I was 4, and we'd go to the Pecan Land Mall, and he was like, you would put at 4 years old, you would grab a tie and a shirt and say,
together.
and it's fun. We always laugh because he still wears it now. He's still gonna wear things that are 40 years old, but it comes so natural to me. It's almost just a part of who I am. It's just a natural, like, I love color, I love style, I love inspiration. And so, but I always have to kind of keep it going. And just like and most creatives will tell you this, like you have to be rested, you have to be at a good
Right.
mindset for your true creative self to come out. But I have to do that for my clients daily. I just try to always be inspired. Like I just always try to, I mean, it is, and people, I've heard creatives say this before, that it's a lifestyle.
Mm.
It's you got to be
Yeah.
everywhere that we go. So like my husband and I went to Dallas this weekend, and I just naturally do it. I just walk in a space and I take in the sights and I take in the details. And like I was in a bathroom at this high-end restaurant, and I saw a plumbing fixture that I'd selected for a dream home a couple years ago, and I was like, that is so cool. Like, that I'm in this place and I see that. But I just look at all these details and it keeps me inspired. Um, and I know like everybody kind of jokes on Pinterest and things like that, but sometimes at night, like I just scroll through Pinterest and and it keeps my creative
Right.
juices go, or Instagram. I follow like bigger net like designers in California or New York or wherever, and I just try to keep up with trends that are going on. But with that being said, every project is so unique,
Yes. I bet.
just like every client is so unique.
Right.
And I try to treat every one of them different. Like I mean, I have the same basic things that I do, but everything is so different. So, for instance, like if I go into a house that's like a court, that's got a courtyard with all these other houses next to it, it's going to be different. That my inspiration is going to be different than if I went to a house that was like an open
Right.
space, on all of these acres and all this land. I'm going to be inspired differently because I always let the neighborhood and the exterior kind of play into my inspiration for the style of the home.
Have you ever had
Um,
somebody approach you with a style that you thought was so hideous? You're like, I just don't know that I'm right for you.
yeah, yeah. But I always try to find beauty in
Yeah.
everything. So like even I
Yeah.
try. There are very few cases that I'm like, I have to step
Yeah.
away. I can't. But it's few and far between
I
because I
can
really
imagine.
I really do try to dig deep in my head, like, okay, that there's something there that is, whether it's a view out a window of some trees that inspires me to do something. Yeah.
A lot of people don't necessarily understand this, but I can tell you that it is extremely true when it comes time to sell a home. And I think you'll agree with it. The furnishings inside the home, knowing that they're not going to stay with that home, but they can accent a home in a way that increases the value of that home.
Oh, for sure,
I've
for
seen it
sure,
happen time and
for
time and
sure,
time
for
again.
sure.
The value that a great interior decorator designer can do to the interior of a home will add value to
Oh,
that home.
no doubt, no
It's
doubt.
just it amazes me on how that happens, and I'm a very visual person, so I need to be able to see things. And I know a lot of people are the same way, but it blows me away knowing what a true artist can do to the inside of a home to enhance the
Well, and
value.
even simple things like, I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna decorate or style a space, it may be that we just remove a lamp and some art that's on the wall, and you can make a huge difference. You
100%.
can make it not so cluttered or make it not,
So this
so
goes into one of my
visually.
questions here. So
Hmm.
what are some simple tips that we can give our listeners
Yeah.
today that if they wanted that some common things that you see if someone wants to just do a little bit of a refresher within maybe their living room or maybe their bedroom, what are just some simple tips that you feel like that people can take away from this today?
So you want to eliminate clutter in your home. And I always
Define
say,
that.
okay, so less is more. So for instance, last week I had to do a styling job, And there was just a lot of mismatched photos hanging on the walls of the fireplace. You know, and your fireplace can really be your focal point if you let it be. So we removed those, cleared off the mantle, and I really focused in on, you know, let's put some things to scale that are going to balance out the room and make your eye, because you wouldn't want to just put a chair here, block the view there,
Right.
clutter up all the things on the side of the fireplace. So sometimes it's just about removing it, taking a step back and looking and seeing how you can rearrange it. And so it's funny, in the beginning of my career, when I was working other interior design jobs, and then after work I would go help people. I did a lot of that at first. People would call me and they'd say, we just want you to use what we have and
Make it look better.
rearrange it
Yeah.
and make it look better. And that's still to this day, I have people call me and do that. And it's a simple, easy
Sure.
job to do. To just use what you have and move it around. And you'd be amazed when I did that for a client last week. She was like, wow, that looks so different. And I was like, and we just used what we had. I did not buy one single item for that space.
Probably just
because she had,
removed?
yes, I removed and I rearranged some things she had in the wrong spot of the room to
Made
the
all the
right
difference,
spot of the
right?
room. And she was like, wow, it looks so different. And it was, I mean, she had amazing pieces. So it wasn't that she needed new pieces. She just didn't have them
Right.
set up right. And that can really make a difference. And then, I mean, I'll always say, you know, paint is one of the most simple ways you can change a space. I mean, you know that as a realtor. You know,
Yeah.
people, it's hard to see past all the paint.
It is, and all the nail holes when you
And
start
all the
pulling things off.
And I mean, there was this one house that she called me. She actually called me while she was looking with a realtor. It was, I think, in West Monroe or Calhoun or something. And the house was painted every color you can think of. Okay. But she loved the house. And when I walked in, I could see the potential. And just when the painter came in and changed all of it, you know, from the blue and the yellows and the I mean, it was crazy.
I think I know the house.
Yeah, you probably do. And when it was changed, it just made all the difference. And it was just paint. And that's, I know you come across that in your business a lot. Like,
all the
you
time.
don't let the paint hold you back, and it's not as scary. It's not as scary as you think. Like, I've got a lot of good painters locally that I use, but you just call up the painter and pick out the right shade of paint, and it can change the entire
Completely
look.
agree with
And
you. on that.
I love using paint to like highlight architectural details, to highlight, you know, things in the home that
Yes.
the average eye cannot see. I can visualize and see if that is painted
Well,
the
I
right
just like
color.
that.
You don't have to tear down that wall, you know, or you don't have to let's change the paint color first and see what you think.
Well, I do like that our builders are now going back in and putting more architectural features in a house.
Yes.
I don't know who come up with the ranch style home, but I mean,
I love all the architectural features.
we
And
just
I mean, I
needed
know
to-
you see them daily.
yeah, it's a whole lot more you can do with a home. Even a home that's 100 years old, if you have something to work with.
Exactly.
I mean, you can still upgrade ranch style homes, but I really enjoy seeing they're bringing a lot of the architectural features
Well,
back
and that's
into
like
homes.
that's for instance, my husband and I have a Airbnb in New Orleans,
Okay.
and so we've had a lot of fun decorating. But it's an older home,
Right.
and the mantle was the same color as the wall, as the whole room was, and it was just blending in. It was this beautiful mantle, and I said, let's paint it a charcoal gray, and now that's all you look at. You know, sometimes that's all it takes is to just
trust me, I know.
is to
it's
just change it to
little changes.
the right
Yep.
color. I actually had a call for a house here in Monroe on my way here, and we're changing the mantle to a dark green, but I'm matching it to the custom furniture and fabrics that we have in the room. But it's going to change the entire room when it's painted the dark green than it was when it was all blended the same color. So
So
I mean, it's just little
sometime,
things. You've got to
yeah,
be open to things like that, to the potential of a home.
sometimes small changes is all you
Oh
need.
yeah, you don't have to break the bank. I mean, I tell people that all the time. Like, it's not about, people think when they view my line of work, like, you've got to spend all the money and do all those things.
Now you
No,
can if you want
yeah, you
to,
can, but
but it's
like,
not always
yeah,
required.
and I'm not here to waste your. I always say, I'm like, I'm not here to waste your time, waste your money, but I'm here to give good and sound advice on how you can make this room look better. Like, at the end of the day, we want it to look. Every room can be at its highest potential
Sure.
if it's done correctly.
Jan, look, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a treat. I believe in the type of work that you do. I wish more people would be willing to reach out to people in your industry. Number one, you can save them a lot of money instead of you going out and buying everything and you're not figuring out what you really need and you're not 100% satisfied. So you find yourself changing every year, every 2 years till you can develop yourself. Hiring a professional definitely can help. Jan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Appreciate
having me.
the book here,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I've got the perfect place for it,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to see what you do with this next dream home.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this podcast. We really appreciate your involvement. Please leave us a comment, or even better yet, subscribe to this podcast and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted for every new episode when it hits.